And we are going to tackle a great question from a potential client via email. They wanted to know why I only do in home training. Well, honestly, at this point in my career, I have decided that that's how I can help most dogs. The flip side of that is most problem behaviors that clients want help with happen inside their house or out on a walk, but somewhere geolocated around their world. And I need to be inside that world to see the problems, come up with solutions, coach the clients, and help them through the process. When I started this dog training adventure about 18 years ago, I worked for PetSmart and I did teach a lot of group classes. And what I found was that a lot of people would quit showing up to class around week 3 or 4. And what I kind of found out over the years is the dogs were not ready for the amount of distraction and impulse control and frustration tolerance that it took to be inside a group class. So, when I started K.I.S S dog training 15 years ago, I did do group classes, but I kind of flipped the script and said you had to do some private training with me so that we could get things squared away and going in the right direction at home so that we stood a chance that the dog can handle the distraction of 6 or 8 other people and 6 or 8 other dogs in a small confined space, because it would be like putting a bunch of preschoolers in a classroom expecting them to do, you know, third grade math. So I really think that private instruction is where folks ought to start because the problems are happening there at their home. And group classes should be more of a finishing class to where, okay, let's see how you do with impulse control and frustration tolerance of being in a room full of dogs and see how you handle it. So it's a really long answer to a short question, but really and truly, because I'm the only person here at K.I.S S Dog Training who does the training, it's just a one horse business. I found that I could help more clients by doing just private instruction. But if you're gonna do a group class because maybe it's cheaper, things like that, invest in 1, 2, maybe 3 private sessions with a trainer and get the basics down so that you can work on what's really important, and that is working under distraction, redirection, impulse control, and frustration tolerance in a group class, but when they're ready, not at the very beginning. Okay, so it's Mike with K.I.S S Dog Training. Another great question from a client. Hopefully that helps you guys make some dog training decisions in your world. And we got a phone call from a client today that we're going to cover in this little quick video. That is, why do we put 2 weeks in between sessions? And I think before we talk about that, we ought to talk about how I do my private instruction. If we're talking basic dog training, which is what we're talking about right now, I have a silver, a gold, and a platinum package. The silver is one session. It's for if you've got one situation you need to work on and you're going to be the person that can handle the consistency and frequency of doing the homework without an accountability buddy showing up every 2 weeks, the silver's perfect for you. The gold package is 3 sessions, and I always put 2 weeks between the sessions, which brings us to our question, because I want clients to have time to practice daily for a couple of weeks and really get down to brass tacks and figure out what they can and can't do. Gives them a chance to email me, ask questions, call me. It also gives them a chance to get used to the work and to kind of go with it, okay? And then the platinum package is 5 sessions, and I'll get back to the 1, 3, 5 here in a minute. But again, 2 weeks in between sessions. So if I was going to work with somebody on, let's say, leash reactivity, that would be a platinum package, 5 sessions. The first session, we might talk about crate training, management, doggy daycare, and the beginning of the hand feeding process with about 15 different games to play. That's plenty of work for a client. If I was trying to show up 3 days later, the client's head would explode because they wouldn't have had a chance, or the dog wouldn't have had a chance to get things going. When I show up for the second session after 2 weeks, this gives me a chance to say, okay, now let's get the leash out and let's work with the leash inside the house. Then we might take a long line into the backyard and we might sit out in the driveway with a long line and work on recall. But it's the introduction to leash skills. We'll work a little bit on stay, we'll work a little bit on leave it, we'll do some different things, but it's basically that introduction to the leash. And again, I give them 2 weeks so that they can get the work done. They also know that I'm coming back in 2 weeks, so I become a little bit of an accountability buddy. Now, let's say that third session, that's where we're going to go for a walk in the neighborhood. If I just walked directly into that person's house and tried to do a walk right out of the chute, the dog wouldn't be able to handle it. That's why they called me. That's the problem they're having. Why would we want to go out on a walk in that first session and practice the behavior that we so desperately want to get rid of? We need to lay the foundation in sessions 1 and 2 so that we stand a chance in session 3 on a walk. But in session 3, we're still going to kind of avoid distractions. If we see a dog, we're going to cross the street, we're going to put them in a sit, we're going to do a watch me. We're not meeting, we're not talking to the other people, we're kind of avoiding distractions at this point, but getting the client out on the road to where they can kind of start working on this out in the world of distractions. Again, I leave. I give them 2 weeks of practice because the next time I come out in session 4, I'm going to bring one of my dogs who is non reactive and doesn't care if a dog barks at him. And I'm going to kind of float behind 2 or 3 driveways behind so that my client can practice or see what it's like to try to do a leave it when there's another dog present. And if things get squirrely, I put my dog back in the car. The car's running, dog's getting heating and air conditioning, getting to listen to some really good music. And we coach, we try, I get the dog out, we try again. That's that 4th session. The 5th session goes one of 2 ways depending on how the client wants to. We'll meet at a busy city park or a place where dogs are on leash, not a dog park. Or we'll go visit a Home Depot and a PetSmart that are in the same parking lot. And we'll take that level, of distraction to the next level. Sorry, too many levels. But that is what we're going to be doing. So when you look at how I do basic dog training, it's going to be a silver, a gold, and a platinum. And I'm just using leash reactivity because it's one of the common things that I deal with as a topic. But it really depends on how complicated the situation is. If it's something we can handle in 3 sessions, we'll do that. If it's something we can handle in 5. But I really don't recommend trying to do any of this work without at least 2 weeks in between sessions. And in fact, I'll tell some clients, hey, look, you got your hands full. It might be the kids in the family, the work schedule, this. Let's put a month. Now, this also means that you have to be consistent and frequent with the practice. So if you're somebody who's not going to put in the time or the effort and practice being consistent and frequent, this little plan isn't going to work for you. But over the last 15 years of K.I.S.S dog training, I have figured out that this seems to be the best technique for me to teach and the owners to learn. So that was a great question that came across, and we are going to just go with that. Okay. We are going to cover another one of those quick questions that came through via a phone call with a client. And in this particular situation, it was a dog that had a bite history. And it brought about, well, what kind of training do you do? So with K.I.S.S dog training, I guess you could put us in 3 different categories. Number 1, it would be puppy training. That would be a dog anywhere from 8 weeks to 20 weeks. The real key to puppy training is lots and lots of socialization, lots and lots of monkey see, monkey do, hand feeding games to play so that they can start getting kind of a foundation of some basic skills and getting crate training and potty training under control. Usually I either do a Tiny Diamonds package, which is a one-time in-home session where I can help with the logistics set up, give you lots of homework to work on and tell you, okay, here, give me a call in a month and a half, and we will kind of look at going into some dog training, more specific obedience type stuff. Other people will pick the Tiny Diamonds Plus package, which will be 4 sessions, and it will take you all the way from puppy to adolescence. You might still need some help down the road once the dog becomes an adult if you have bad behaviors that crop up, but usually that Tiny Diamond Plus helps a lot. What about adult dogs? This is usually when I get the phone calls of my dog pulls on a leash, my dog's reactive on leash, my dog won't come when called, the dog's jumping all over people at the front door, and these will be more of your typical dog problem behaviors, and we do silver, gold, or platinum. And silver is 1 session, gold is 3 sessions, platinum is 5 sessions. Now, the ironic part is Those will have 2 weeks worth of practice in between. Same scenario with the puppies. I still put 2 weeks in between. I know there's some people out in the dog training community, they'll come out to somebody's house 3 times a week. If my clients had to listen to me 3 times in 1 week, their heads would explode. I need to give them homework. I need to, this is what we're going to work on. This is what the goal is by the time I come back, and give them plenty of time to practice. They may have a rough week at work. They may only be able to invest 15 minutes on Monday, but I can do 30 minutes on Tuesday. We skipped Wednesday because we had soccer practice. Over the years, I have figured out people need that time. Well, the client that called me with the dog with the bite history is the third category of dog training that we do here at K.I.S. Dog Training, and that would be more complex case type stuff. That would be dogs with a bite history. City mandated training, which usually comes from a bite, could be separation anxiety, but it would be a more complicated scenario. And usually the way that session works is the very first thing you sign up for is a 30-45 minute phone evaluation with me, where you filled out a really detailed behavior history. And I will go through that behavior history before we talk, highlight things I want to cover, things that we're going to talk about. And then I send you a big, long, complex case phone evaluation training syllabus, basically, notes. And it will have books I want you to read, videos I want you to watch, blogs I want you to read. I want you to wrap your head around the situation that you're having. After we've done that phone call, I usually give clients anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to digest all the information that I've sent to them. Then we start doing complex case sessions, which will happen about once a month, okay? Where I don't really do 2-week sessions for regular dog training or puppy training. These complex cases have month-long intervals in between. But you also have plenty of time to call, email, ask questions. Why is this working? What's going on? What we really find when you're dealing with complex cases is you're dealing with a marathon, not a sprint. It's usually not a quick fix. And the quicker we try to force a change on a dog, sometimes the behaviors get worse, not better. So I figured this was a good time to maybe just describe how and what kind of sessions I offer. You know, it's puppy, it's regular, it's complex, how they work, how much time goes in between. And I will be honest with you, I am also a very transparent trainer. All the prices are on the website. I have fine print and frequently asked questions that clients actually have to electronically sign before I'll allow them to sign up with me. I want to under promise and over deliver to my clients. I don't want to try to sell you dog training, because if I do, I'm usually going to over promise and under deliver. So if you got any questions, fill out one of those contact us forms on the website and let us know what you want to hear next, or if you need help. And we're right here ready to help. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.